They said she was cursed. From the moment Elena was born, whispers filled the town's saloons and dusty streets. Some claimed the crops failed because of her. Others swore storms followed her wherever she walked. She grew up in silence, a shadow among people who never dared to touch her, never dared to meet her eyes. Doors closed when she passed. Mothers pulled children away, and men spat into the dirt at the mention of her name. To them she was untouchable, doomed to live a life without kindness. Yet beneath the weight of every cruel glance, Elena held her chin high, carrying herself with the quiet strength of someone who had endured too much to break. Then came the cowboy. He rode into town one summer evening, dust trailing his horse as the setting sun painted the sky in fire. His name was Daniel, though no one dared speak to him at first, just as they avoided her. He was an outsider, a man with shadows of his own, and his eyes carried a storm that mirrored hers. It was in the marketplace where their worlds collided. Elena, holding a basket, dropped an apple, and before the crowd could murmur their usual curses, Daniel bent down, picked it up, and pressed it gently into her palm. The town froze. Men stared from porches. Women gasped behind fans. And for the first time, Elena felt the world stop for her. The whispers turned louder as Daniel continued to meet her gaze without fear. And then it happened, the moment that shattered every lie ever told about her. In the middle of the dirt road, under the wide open sky, he reached for her hand. The crowd drew in a breath, expecting fire, ruin, or divine punishment. But none came. Instead, the curse they feared so much dissolved into the warmth of two hands locked together. Elena's heart raced, not from fear, but from the realization that someone had finally seen her. Not as cursed, not as untouchable, but as a woman worth standing beside. Daniel's voice carried across the silent street. "I don't see a curse, I see courage." His words struck deeper than any bullet, and slowly the town's eyes shifted. Shame crept into their stares. Elena stood taller, her hand still in his, as though that single touch had rewritten her fate. In that moment, she was no longer untouchable, she was unstoppable. And if this story moved you, imagine how many more untold tales wait to be uncovered. Subscribe to the channel now, because every story we share will remind you that no curse, no fear, and no silence can ever stop the power of truth and courage. The town could not forget what it had witnessed that evening, though many tried to dismiss it as a reckless act of defiance by a drifter who knew nothing of their ways. Yet the memory of Daniel holding Elena's hand burned in every mind, more powerful than any sermon or rumor. Whispers spread from the saloon to the church steps, from the blacksmith's forge to the schoolhouse door. Some swore the cowboy was bewitched. Others muttered he would meet his end before the week was out. But what lingered most was the silence. The uncomfortable truth that no lightning struck, no crops withered, no curse revealed itself. For the first time, people had to face the possibility that their fear had been nothing more than a lie passed down, one that kept them bound in ignorance while Elena bore the burden. She, however, felt a shift deep within herself, a spark of freedom she had never known. When she woke the next morning, she found courage in the mirror, a courage that glowed brighter because someone had dared to believe in her when no one else would. Daniel continued to walk beside her in plain sight, unafraid of the sideways glances or the muttered warnings, and his quiet boldness gave her strength she had never dared to dream of. Together, they strolled the main street as though they belonged, and though the townsfolk stepped aside, they could no longer deny her presence, nor erase the fact that she was still standing, still breathing, still human. But courage comes at a cost, and soon resistance rose. The town's leader, a man named Harris, who had long profited from the myths of curses and fear, could not allow the truth to take root. Fear kept people under his thumb. Fear made them obedient, and fear kept him powerful. So he called a gathering, urging the townsfolk to restore order, to protect themselves from the so-called danger that Elena and the stranger brought with them. The crowd gathered reluctantly, their hearts torn between old fears and new doubts, their eyes searching for answers. Harris thundered from the steps of the courthouse, declaring Daniel a fool and Elena a threat, demanding the people drive them both away before ruin fell on everyone. Yet as his words echoed through the square, Elena stepped forward, Daniel's hand still clasped in hers. She did not tremble, she did not bow. Her voice, steady and clear, carried across the restless crowd. "You've all watched me since I was a child. Did your houses burn when I walked by? Did your children fall ill at my touch? Or have you only believed because it was easier than asking why?" The crowd shifted uneasily, the lies of years crumbling under the weight of her truth. Daniel's grip tightened in solidarity, his presence a shield against the hatred glaring down from the courthouse steps. For the first time in her life, Elena saw something in the faces around her, doubt, yes, but also the faintest flicker of shame, and even the beginnings of belief.